Since we are here to discuss development of the project that has not yet been shot, and that is now, as I know, in early financing stage, I would like us to start with seeing the trailer of the film, unless you want to say something at the very beginning. So let's see the trailer, the teaser trailer. Jack, can you tell us a little bit more about the story?
Where that trailer is coming from. I've been researching for this project for about 5 years until I reached the point in which I actually needed to present something visual. Since not a frame of the film has been shot yet, I used the vast archive, visual archive that I developed during the research process, which I can talk for an hour just about the research process, but maybe that would be a little unproductive. And since the whole film takes place actually during one day, one night, and this is the last day of the Heritage Tour. The Heritage Tour is well, integral part of the Israeli education system. It's the last high school trip you do, and you come with your class, with your classmates, to Poland for 10 days, in which you mostly visit ghettos, camps, killing pits, destroy synagogues, and this is what they do during the day. There's a very strict narrative to it. It's all about the destruction of Jewish life in Poland. But then, of course, in the evenings, we're talking about teenagers, 17 years old mostly. Well, it's the first time that they're out with all their friends abroad. So they tend to get drunk very seriously, as teenagers do, and also engage in sexual activities, as drunk teenagers tend to do. Now, as I said, it's a 10 days trip, but my main focus was this last day, this last night, because the last day is always the visit in Auschwitz. Auschwitz is like the holy grail of this whole trip, in a way. And of course, there's a lot of emphasis about trying to experience, to really have this sensory, tactile experience of what happened 70 years before. Which drifts me a little away from the question. So they have to try and handle this very emotional, extreme, which also goes with extreme emotions, that they've been absorbing. And their way of dealing with it, well, might be a little different than what most people expect. But as it's based on actual events, it makes things a little more easy. There are these two couples, two boys, two girls. They're actually the elite of the class. And they decide that for this last night, already on the way back on the bus from Auschwitz, that they will use this opportunity to settle the score with the outcast of the class. This guy, Elijah, that during this whole 10 days sort of failed to cooperate with the togetherness mindset of the heritage tour. Now you have to understand that all the time this class is together. They have armed security with them from Israeli Secret Service. They're not allowed to interact with other people outside of the group, not with any other Polish teenagers or any other people. And their activities are very much controlled. In the evenings, they're not allowed to leave the hotel because they are kept on being reminded that Polish is still considered a very anti-Semitic country, and there are a lot of hostile elements out there that would like to harm them, which in a way brings me back to the core of this 5 years research, which is the siege mentality. And siege mentality, for those of you who might not know the term, coming more from psychology, is this sense that you're constantly surrounded by enemies, which is very much actually the state of Israel. And by saying the state of Israel, I mean, of course, also the mental state of Israel. Because as an Israeli, you're being conditioned from very early age to believe in that situation, that constantly there are the barbarians at the gate that just want to throw you to the sea. And in a way, the Heritage Tour is very much exemplifying this state of mind. And not to get too much into the plot, well, these two couples, this elite group, they convince one of the girls to seduce Elijah, the outcast, to her room after lights out. And there they're doing this crush re-education course to teach him what it means to be part of a group and how he should act and how he should re-emerge into this togetherness. And of course, all hell breaks loose and things goes very bad for pretty much everyone.
I remember when I heard this pitch for the first time, it was in Berlin a year ago. And I remember being quite shocked that the first time filmmaker with visual artist background has Ewa Puszczyńska attached to the project. And really being...
Yeah, he's quite handsome, so...
But my question is, what apart from Jack's fabulous looks make you follow this great story?
You know, I've been interested in the subject of heritage tours, you know, independently from Jack before we even met, myself for quite a long time. And I was for really, I don't know, for quite a lot of years, I was looking for the project coming from Israel on that subject. And I personally, at some point, more or less exactly at the same time, you know, the subject became somehow hot in Israel. So there were people writing about that, about these heritage trips. And I read like 5 scripts on that. And only this script really, you know, grabbed me really, really deeply. And I thought, this is the one I want to follow and I want to be attached to. Why? Because this script and this hopefully film, because as Joanna said, we are only, you know, in the financing stage. So hopefully the film will be made. But this script is not only just a very kind of a shallow story of, you know, the first sex and first drunk with the Holocaust in the background, but it is a deep critique of the brainwashing of the very, very young people in Israel, but not only, you know, using the history using the history of violence. And it's something, visiting the places like Auschwitz should be teaching you, against violence. You shouldn't be violent anymore, because this is the tragic history. But it's totally different effect. This is the violence brings back the violence. This is especially when you look what is in Israel, but more and more in more and more countries. Even in Poland now, the way you use your history, we can observe, all the people sitting here can see what is going on now with all the right wings. I hope I am not offending anybody here. But anyway, this is how the people use the history in a very, very bad way. How that can affect the nowadays, society. So for me, that was really, really very important. And what Jack didn't say, it's these trips are planned, in the very specific timeline. The Israeli teenagers, go to those trips in the very last year of the high school. When they come back, this is usually the trips are in autumn, and then in early summer, late spring, they graduate from high schools, and they immediately go to the army, which is compulsory in Israel. 3 years for boys, 2 years for girls. And what is going to happen with them? These very, very young people, being, brainwashed and being, having this, siege mentality, they go and they are sent to, to checkpoints or to West Bank or to Gaza. And this is what's going to happen. They are killing, Palestinians because, this is what is in them. So this is very tragic, and that's why I decided to jump on the project. And I'm with Jack like 2 years now, I think. And so that was the decision. But how I learned about the project. I got the letter from Amsterdam Film Academy where Jack was studying. They wrote to me and said, listen, there is a project which has been developed in our school. Would you be so kind and read it? Because we think, I don't know why they think I might be interested in that, but anyway, this is what they wrote. We think you might be interested in that. And I read the script. Then, of course, now the script is, after 2 years, is different. But anyway, I read that, and I thought, yes, this is something I want to work on. And I got in touch with those people. I got the script, and this was physically, I just took a plane and went to Tel Aviv, met Jack, and this is how we started.
Maybe you can draw a little timeline of these 2 years, because I know you've been to many places and workshops, labs, etc. So you get the email from the Amsterdam Film School, you read the script, you love it, you go and meet Jack. What happens next? Was it the first draft, second draft? How far you were with the writing?
Okay, that was the first draft. And actually, I think during this entire presentation, in the hour and little we have, we're basically going to draw this entire timeline instead of just trying to summarize it now and then go back every time. And what I wanted to add is first, well, not just hopefully we're going to make this film, definitely we're going to make this film. Only question is how soon. And actually this trailer you saw, that was part of my presentation in the Netherlands Film Academy, in the graduation. So my research was this film, and there was a script and the trailer. And now, when we met, it was really the first draft. And at that point, we got some development money from the Israeli Film Fund, and which, of course, the Israeli Film Fund demands that money will be spent by working with an Israeli script consultant. Luckily enough, we got a very good Israeli script consultant that was outside of their list, but we convinced him that he's the right person to do so. And he actually was the first among few very prominent script consultant and very, I believe, successful relationship we had with story editors. And Marietta can tell you about that. Yes. Now, although we didn't work with Marietta, but we worked with one of our colleagues, Franz Rodenkirchen, which actually brings us to the, let's say, next plot point in our story, which will be where you saw the project.
So pitching at the Berlinale with Eva attached already, but how did you two work at that point? Because what we are talking about today is how story matters and how the relation between writer, director, and producer kind of develops in the development process. So
I think it was quite specific, you know, this is, Jack may agree or disagree with me, but I think that I was kind of supervising the process, and I think that my task, I saw my task and then see my task here, you know, to attach Jack to the right people. I do not consider myself as a you know, specialist in discussing a script doctoring. You know, this is I understand scripts emotionally. You know, this is I very often have problems to explain what works or not work for me. You know, this is I feel that something doesn't work or that something works brilliantly, but it's very difficult for me to really put it into words. So this is what I felt my task. You know, that was to connect Jack to the right people. And you know, this is I was very happy to find that, you know, this is a script station in Berlin. There was Franz who was working, you know, with Jack, and that was the you know. And we sticked. We were very lucky because we had Franz through the whole process. So that was after the script station. We then, you know, it was, and again, you know, we didn't have money for development. You know, this was also the problem, and so you have to be very clever. You know, sometimes ruthless, unfortunately, to find your way to you know, to enable the development process. So the next decision.
Can you give us some examples of this? How you were overcoming this financial thing?
This
how were
is
you
what,
working?
you know, because this was first, you know, the script station. You know, that was the work with friends. That was, for example, you know, the Ekran program, which was, you know, which you work with the first-time director, although you trust, you know, in him and believe that he will deliver. Because also what made me, you know, interested in the project and in Jack as a person, also his background as a visual artist. Because I think, you know, that the way of storytelling and the way of approach to cinema, you know, it's changes, or at least, you know, this is not all the time the same, that there are various, you know, branches of the way of storytelling and the way of the films. So I thought, okay, you know, having combination of the person who has specific look at the cinema, you know, being with this, you know, visual arts background and having that text. And I must, you know, the lead digression, when I read it first, I said, oh my God, this is just ready for the theater, you know, stage. This is ready. He should go and make a you know, theater play out of it. But then when I read it for the second time, I said, okay, there is a paradox, at least for me. You know, this is in the theater, you deal the audience, you know, flesh and blood people see and deal with the flesh and blood actors, but still the distance is so far away that, you know, this is something when you really can be close to the character, close to the people, and close to the emotions. This is cinema. Because, you know, you can show the eye blink, you know, you can show the movement of the muscles of the cheek, which expresses emotions. And for me, then I said, okay, this is no. If we really want to, if I really want to be attached, if I really so very much believe that we can make a film of that, let's make a film of that. So this is that. And coming back to the next,
just to kind of cut in, because we sort of forgot to say that in the very first version, as far as I know, the whole action was set up in the hotel room, and you barely left the room, right? So that's what gave you this impression of this being a theater play, or?
Yeah, you know, this was in the very first, you know, the biggest part of the film was there. Now it changed, but that's why it was my impression. So that was it, and then was Ekran, yes, and then was Ekran, and it was really. We were lucky because it was the first time when Ekran allowed people from outside Europe. So there was the opportunity we used, and why? Because Ekran gives you the chance to shoot 2 scenes, and I even was telling Jack, okay, I know that there will be people talking to you about the script. I know that there will be a script development, but our main goal with Ekran is to shoot the scenes. Of course, you talk to people about, your tutors about the script. Of course, you listen to them. Of course, you just, digest and think what is right, what is wrong. But this is not your goal. Your goal is to go and shoot those 2 scenes. And this is what happened. We shot 2 scenes there. And, one scene was shot with a Polish actors in English. But then I said, okay, no, this is because we want to shoot the film in Hebrew. It was my desire and my need to see how it works in the language I do not understand. I know what they are talking about because I know the script, but I do not understand the language. And I want to see how it works in the original, form we want to do. So we made a financial effort. We brought 2 Israeli actors, way too old for the part, way too old, but we had the problems with the casting. But Jack can tell you about it, because it was also the process of development. We learned what we really need. And we shot those 2 scenes. And also, Jack, do not listen what I'm saying now. I wanted to know how he works with the actors. If he can, calm down, and all this anxiety, and all this very, very much understandable nervousness, and really focus on work. I was there when he was shooting, and so this was also for me to convince myself, okay, what he needs from me, what kind of support I have to plan for, or I have to bring, to make him feel supported and more confident. Yeah, so. Maybe you add something.
Jack.
What was it from your side?
Well, it's pretty much the same. Now, the main challenge was, and let's break it into this, because these 2 scenes were in 2 different sessions, and there were some things happening in between as well. But before we're going to screen the first scene, wait. First, we need to kill this light over here. Now, the thing with the first scene, well, we had obvious limitations. Working with the Polish cast wasn't actually a limitation, because maybe something to mention, that I originally wrote the script in English. First of all, because I saw it as a European film, as a European project. And the situation of Israeli teenagers visiting Poland as part of their last high school trip might sound very, very specific, but this siege mentality, this phenomena of indoctrination to violence, and here maybe I'm just repeating what Eva just said, but we do have a sense, or at least we believe, that the memory of violence will somehow protect us, or that it makes us immune from repeating that violence. But actually, the way we're teaching it in Western society is pretty much leading to the opposite. We're actually leading to its continuation and acceleration. Because, and this is, again, repeating a little bit what you said, but the way we deal with history within these very specific, narrow national narratives, and in a way also militant narratives, tell us very little about the possibility of change, about the ability to create discussion. And it's very much creating this binary perspective of perpetrators and victims, which is, of course, completely the case with the Heritage Tour. Because this thing of coming back to Israel after the tour, finishing the studies and going to the army, I'm simplifying it, but there are two options. Either you saw well, the evidence of the horrors that happened in the Second World War. And you think, okay, we must never allow this to happen again. And of course, the conclusion through this national narrative will be that we have to protect ourselves and we have to fight any possible threat that we might have. In the Israeli case, the Palestinians, for example. But also we see it now in a broader sense in Europe, where it comes to the refugees. And I don't want to get too political at this point, but I have to say that I don't understand how 3 million refugees, people without home, without any material possession, can actually be considered a threat for a continent of 200-300 million people. It just doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense within a very simplistic narrative of good and evil, of identifying an enemy and creating a whole fear strategy around it, which is, again, very much the topic and the theme of AA. So, back to the limitations we had. We could only use 2 to 3 actors, which was a problem for us, because our main cast, our 5 characters, half the film, they're in a room, in the hotel room, because those heritage tours, they're during the day, they're in the camps or in the ghettos, and during the evenings, they're in actually very nice hotels, in 4-star hotels. So we have this situation.
The limitations were imposed by the Ekran workshop, right? These are the rules for everyone participating.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically we can have one location, okay, this is pretty much solved, the hotel room. But now we cannot have the whole cast. And almost in all the scenes, all of them are there. But we thought how we can use these limitations to our advantage. And there is this part, you can even call it the midpoint, in a way, of the script. And this scene is entirely a POV scene, a point of view, which is perceived by one of the characters. And then we have only this character and another character. Now, this scene on script brought a lot of questions and, let's admit it, a lot of doubts. Also in script station, also by other script advisors and film professionals, and they all said, well, you know, maybe, not maybe, it works on paper, but it's not going to work on the screen. I mean, that was almost 20 pages scene. Let's say 20 pages, let's say 20 minutes of just being in someone's POV, no establishing shot, no reaction shots. That's not cinema. It's not going to work. And we said, okay, that will be our opportunity to see if it actually works. So it was a very good testing ground. And luckily enough, we had already Wukajal involved as a cinematographer.
That was my question. How did you get to
this is just, you know, sorry interrupting, but this was another, my idea was, okay, this is if we are going to work, because you can use any you know, cinematographer for Ekran, you know, this is the school offers, there are many, you know, talented people in Poland, you can use anybody. And then I thought, you know, this is, even before, you know, when we got to Ekran, I thought, okay, this is, if it's going to make any sense, you know, we will have to attach a person who will be with us through the whole process. And, you know, because I was working with Łukasz, you know, for Ida, and we know each other very well. And so that I you know, turned to him and said, listen, this is a project. This is what is it about. Please read the script and tell me if you, I would be very much happy if you could work with us on that. So please tell me if you say yes. And he agreed. So it was, you know, the only decision to have him shoot those scenes. So that is, you know, so that was also something that they were meeting with Jack before, discussing, you know, planning, inventing even, you know, some ways how to not only shoot those scenes, but it was also already a kind of a part of preparation, how the film will be shot, you know, how the visuals will be achieved, and in what way, and how. And so this is that's already a part of the process. And I really think, and we agreed at that point with Jack, that you know, this is also what Marietta said, that, you know, this is, if you think about, you know, the cinematography, if you think about sound during the process, you know, this is makes you the whole picture. You know, it grows, it builds, and you know, both we think that in this project, you know, both the visuals, the way how it's shot, and the sound, you know, it's crucial, are very, very important. So that's why, you know, we are already thinking. We know we would like to work on the sound-wise. You know, we will work with them. Yes. So that's the process, which was, yeah, again, I think it was kind of a producer's cooperation in development process with the director.
And how these meetings with Łukasz influenced what you have written on paper? Did you somehow rewritten the script after talking to Łukasz, or not really?
That's a good question. Not consciously, because in a way, I mean, one of the things that work very well is the first, like, 5 minutes that Łukasz and I met. He told me, okay, listen, I'm going to tell you why I find this interesting. And his sort of breakdown into the core of the project was so much to the point and so hitting the mark. And I said, okay, I mean, of course, Ida was amazing and moving, and also coming with every recommendation. That already put him almost behind any doubt. But when he gave me that analysis, I said, okay, definitely we have to do this thing. And so I guess that in further drafts, in a less conscious way, a lot of things, because we had a lot of conversations. I mean, before the shooting with Akron, after the shooting with Akron, and we almost start prepping, although it was very soon in the process. But, you know, when you meet someone and you're very enthusiastic to work with, same as with Eva, then you don't necessarily wait for the official stages. And so in that sense, yeah, there was an influence. And also, I have a certain vision of that room in my head. And we said, okay, let's also test some other things. We showed each other references from films and from visual art, from painting as well. And we said, okay, we have this very, very rare gift of the ability to shoot those scenes now. Then let's play with it. Let's see what we can do. So maybe
Just is just an example of, you know, maybe again I shouldn't be saying that, but this is the we are very open and honest with you. This is what I'm saying, that sometimes, you know, the producer has to be ruthless. You know, I actually managed to kick out another Israeli project from Ekran to put checks in, so that
I think we should keep that off the record.
No, it was not really, but there was a competition, and we were able to present. I was able to present the project in such a way that, you know, in the very final moment, you know, that was Jack's, and but they, you know, they mixed the titles, and they sent me the title of the previous film, you know, of the other film, that it has been accepted, and I said, well, come on, this is not what should happen. And there was the very quick intervention, and, you know, this was Jack. But it was a pure mixing of the titles, so that was not really, but that it really, you know, bring my blood pressure a little bit higher. So it's, yeah. So let's see the scene. Okay, so
it's June last year. You're in Warsaw at Wajda School, and you're shooting with Polish actors. And this is the first scene, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, this scene actually wasn't shot in June. That was in late April. That was the first scene. Let's put it on the screen. And the sound is not amazing here, so maybe we should raise it a little bit.
What a mess they did. what they teach them in the paramilitary course. Can't even gag them out properly. Look, I'm really sorry about what happened before. I was really worried about you. I thought that you did it on purpose. But it doesn't matter now. What matters now is that you're okay, right? A few slaps never really hurt anyone. This is what they always say. Look, I really wanted to have this time together with you alone, as I said before. Can we just start fresh and forget about all that happened before? Please. Please note that you understand, okay? I really need this understanding between us. Please. Okay. That's better. Now, nothing more than little tricks on a trade. Easy. Don't spill it. It costs more than your entire wardrobe. Really.
Can I have some water?
What? What's that? Water? What kind of counter are you?
Please.
Okay. Right. Don't get all hysterical. You know what? I can spot a lie better than Shiraz can spot a sperm stain on a spotted dress. I knew you aren't a drinker.
I'm sorry. I lied to you.
Don't you think you have some more important things to be sorry about?
What more important things?
Are you serious? Where the fuck were you during all this week?
What do you mean? I was in the camps like everyone else.
So that's why you're here, right? To be like everyone else.
Oh,
Like everyone else were wearing a yellow patch and going on the trains and stood in line to the showers,
no,
right?
that's not what I meant.
You've seen where that leads to.
Michal.
What?
I know what you mean. Especially in that ghetto. Next to that piece of wall where it says there used to be a bridge here. And I don't mean that little swastika which is carved in there. I saw it. That bridge, it lacks. Everything just felt so empty, so hollow. I couldn't even listen to the guide. Yeah, I know you saw it too. I know that you understand.
So, you think we are alike?
I know that's the reason you came to me in the dining hall. That it wasn't just by chance that...
That's where you were thinking, right?
Why are you getting so angry?
You don't understand? You don't understand? You think you're someone special? That you are better than everybody else? Where were you during all these ceremonies? Even today in Auschwitz? Why you couldn't just stand and sing Hatikva with us?
What? No, you don't understand. It wasn't... It's because of my family. Because I never knew what they hate, what they have to deal with, why they always...
You can't even finish one sentence.
It's because of the money. Because of the compensation payments. Because my grandmother refused it. Almost nobody refused it. But she didn't want the blood money. And my family, they always blamed her. And if she just could have been like the others, maybe I could have been like the others too. Maybe my mother wouldn't have to work so hard all the time. Maybe my father would have stayed.
Why are you telling me all this?
It's because you... I never thought... I never knew that I judged her like that. That she made us be different. You asked me. You wanted to know. Because of you, I'm here sitting in that chair. And after all you said before, I know you can understand. I know you can understand that I'm not like them. You know how it is to be like this.
Why? What do you really want from me?
No, I don't want it.
What do you want from me?
I just want to be with you.
To be with me? You don't even know what this means. You know what? I've seen the way you look at me. When you think I don't notice. I've seen you looking. My legs, my tits, my ass. I've seen you looking at my pussy.
No, I just want...
You wanted what? Say it.
I wanted to...
You wanted to... Just say it.
I just...
You wanted to fuck me, right? I know it. You can't hide it. Where? On this bed? You wanted to fuck me on this bed? Not Shiraz or somebody else? With me? Just me and you, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then? when I'm all wet and wild and ready? What do you want then? Want to come inside my pussy, or on my tits, or in my mouth? Or maybe all of them?
Yes.
Even though I have a boyfriend who sleeps in the room next door?
Yes.
And no? Do you still want to fuck me now?
What?
You heard it. After all this mess, you
I
still want to fuck me?
I can't stand it anymore.
Say it. Say it.
I still.
I think it's going to be another way around.
Yeah, I forgot to say there was another limitation. It was supposed to be a 6-minute scene.
This one was 12, I guess?
Yes, it was 12. But luckily enough, Ekran were extremely supportive during the entire process. And I don't know, you tell me if
Yeah,
you think
maybe
it
there are
works.
some questions by now already.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, I know that Michal is a very obvious male Polish name. In Hebrew, it's the other way around. It's a very familiar feminine name. So it might be a little bit confusing.
We have a question at the back.
It looks very promising, I think, but aren't you afraid that it can be a little too straightforward with the topic?
Well, of course, it's always tricky when we're talking about one scene and pretty important scene from an entire film. But I believe that by the point that we will reach this scene, which of course we're going to reshoot, because we did learn a few things, I think it will have the effect that we want to achieve. And also, there's one more thing to mention. I mean, some people say, okay, so violence, Holocaust, sexuality, army, smartphones, which is something we didn't even mention now. We're going to get to it when we're going to talk about the next scene. But the thing is that, I mean, very specifically, of course, in Israeli mentality, all these things are mixed up. I mean, you can't separate, for example, the military service from what I might call, well, the deflection of sexual attitudes. I mean, people go to the army when they're 18. Basically, there is this very institutional approach to sort of channel the libidian urges into institutional violence. I mean, there's a reason, of course, it's not only in Israel. Yeah, and in every country where military is compulsory, it's usually around that age. And also when it's not compulsory, when it's voluntary, there's a reason behind it. There's a logic, which I find, of course, completely problematic, but still. And also, I mean, there is this setting which is very morbid, which is this heritage tour, but it doesn't neutralize those violent and sexual needs, which are still very much, actually they're even stronger in a way, because they're all day long dealing with this very morbid, very depressing, you know, they just see death all around them. They just want to go completely the other way around when the day is over and the night starts.
Yeah, but I think, you know, the question was that, or maybe the comment was that, you know, we are, you know, too explanatory, too straightforward, yes? with the subject, yes?
With the topic also.
I think this is we are this is still the scene was almost a year back last year, so this is almost a year back. Of course, this is the script has changed, and we'll just continue, but we also were facing and trying to balance that exactly what you were saying, because for some people it was totally not understandable. They didn't know what we are talking about. For you, which I'm very happy, that at least this is, too much. So we are trying to keep the balance, because people have no idea, some people have no idea about these heritage tours. Some people have no idea about what's going in Israel. Some people have even their eyes closed what is, going around them. So this is really all the time. It's also, I think, which every script, to keep the balance, not to just kick your audience into their eyes, but also, make them understand what you are talking about. So this is something. I hope that we are finding this balance, because we are still in the process.
And you decided to show the tour before this scene, yes?
Say it again?
That you decided to show the tour, this heritage tour, before the scene.
Is the tour shown in the movie?
Not really. The tour somehow is shown, it develops, showing the tour within the film, but not showing it directly. But of course, no, there is a part, the opening, the very objective look at this, there is, but not really. We are not showing them, in the camps, in Auschwitz, really. First of all, we are not allowed to shoot there. We are still trying to find a way, how to trick things and really to be able to get there with a very small crew, with a very small cast. But there are various reasons, which you have to, overcome, and all the obstacles, and try to really make what you want to achieve. Yeah.
These obstacles also influenced your kind of development process, right? Because Auschwitz is a no-go in terms of filmmaking, unless under very, very specific circumstances. So,
which of course only encouraged me to write a scene in Auschwitz. Now the thing is that. We took a very, very strong decision that this film is all taking place during this time frame, from the moment they're on the bus back from Auschwitz until the morning after. So the whole 10 days before, when they visit the other camps and so on, we don't see it. And now I'll have to contradict myself, because we do see it as part of the footage they shot on the smartphones, which already pretty much laying the ground for the next scene. Because one of the major objectives here was not only to tell this story, which in a way hasn't been told, about this phenomena and the influences and also the projections it's got, but to tell it in a different cinematic way. And to put it very roughly, there is this classic objective cinema that we're starting with. Then we're moving to the POV. And then we're moving to the smartphone. Now, this is not only a formalistic decision, because when you see those teenagers today and the way they're interacting with their environment, it's very much through this device. It's through what they shoot, and of course how they use social networks afterwards, and how they share it. So we do have, for example, this scene in Auschwitz, but we see it as they see it, and we very much get their whole perspective and their whole attitude and their experience by just seeing how they shot it, what they were focusing on, how they were moving inside this space.
But maybe you should say that we are not going to shoot with smartphones. Although the effect we want to achieve on the screen is like, and it's not through the, this is, but we'll be shooting with a camera. So there will be not really, we will not shoot with smartphones, but we want to have this very subjective, point of view at things. So that, and one of the protagonists, he's really, a very smart user of smartphones, and he really is, like a cinematographer. He even has this special device. I can't remember the name of it now. You put it, special lenses kind of thing. You put on your camera on the smartphone, and this is to shoot things in a more, let's call it, professional way, a better way. So this is really it's a part of the story. It's not just that it comes out of the blue.
So this is something that was already in the script, and you worked with the DOP. Yes. In the development to work on the visual style.
Indeed. Now, as Eva said, we're very honest and open here. This is something that caused us quite a number of problems because, let's say, most readers, not only they don't even know how to deal with it when suddenly you have all these sort of semi-technical descriptions of camera movements and the like. I mean, for me, it looks very natural because this smartphone is another character, in a way. But this is still something we all the time have to address and explain, and even sometimes to convince the importance of it and how much it is an integral part of the storytelling. Because also, as I think we pretty much finished the Marietta discussion, but there's a story and there's a storytelling, and they're very much embedded into each other with our project. And at this point, Łukasz and Eva and myself, we were starting to discuss how we can really create this sort of, let's call it the smartphone look or the smartphone effect without actually shooting with smartphone. And as contrary to, I'm saying smartphone, and most people, what they think of, what they saw in cinema until now is this sort of shaky, grainy, low resolution, very unpleasant and in a way anti-cinematic look. And one of the first things we said that, no, this is not how we're going to treat it. This is not how we're going to handle this, this format. And of course, now, only a year later, we only have like 4K smartphones and everything is much more advanced. And for those teenagers, what they shoot with the smartphone, it's in a sense, it's a hyper-reality. It's super sharp, it's very clean, it's very smooth. And that was our main focus in the next scene that we shot in Ekron.
Before we move to the second scene, you said that you've learned something from this first exercise. Can you tell us a bit more? What was it that you've learned about the script and about the dramaturgy of your story?
Okay, a couple of things. And again, I can talk about it for a very long time, so I'll keep it very short. As I said before we start watching the scene, it was a 20 pages scene to begin with. And it had to be narrowed down. A lot of things had to be cut out. And a lot of things came out also by working with the actors. We didn't have a lot of time to work before because the casting was tricky. But we were lucky enough to have these two brilliant young actors.
Who was the guy? Because the girl is Ania Pruchniak, and who's the guy?
The guy is Filip Pawiak. Yeah. Which also brings me, okay, that's another thing we learned. As I said, a lot of people said before, well, on paper, it's very nice, it's not going to work on screen. So just as a safety measure, we also took we shot the scene when the camera is showing Philip. which looked very nice, but it didn't work, you know? Just didn't make any sense. It was good to have this coverage, this sort of insurance, but it was contradicting the logic of the scene. So that was one good thing to take out of the equation, although Philip was a little bit disappointed that we didn't saw, because also we invested a lot in his makeup. It was like 3 hours of makeup, how it was beaten up, and he really looked fucked up. But then again, we have it as a souvenir. So shortening the scene, working more with the dynamic of the actors, reaffirming the fact that it should be a POV scene, and also about the production design. So we tried this sort of, highly colorful, almost in a way this post-Baroque look. Because one of our reference here was, and of course, maybe you got it from all the blinking, was Enter the Void. And of course we saw, okay, it works very well, but we need to find something a little different. But of course I'm not going to start elaborating our production design here. So those were a few of the things. And of course, I mean, we're talking about the scenes, but also the consultancy by Wojciech Marczewski, by Daniel Hasanowicz, by some guest script editors we had, was very helpful. Even in the sense of, we talked earlier about, do we see them before in the trip? And for example, we had this American script consultant, and she insisted that the film should start when they're in Israel, in their natural environment, and they're packing the suitcase, and this is how we get connected to their world, and then only then we should pass, and then we should see the whole tour, and said, okay, you know, it's all good, it's all nice, it all fits the American mainstream commercial cinema, which I have nothing against. I enjoy it very much when it's done in a smart way, but this is not a film we want to make. Exactly, this is not the story we're telling.
Eva, what about you? What did you learn as a producer from this exercise?
Yeah, this is, I think I can't remember it. This was that moment that we decided, because at first we wanted to have them closed in a closed environment, without connection with the outside world. But then, I can't remember, it was then, now with this, with the other, that we decided, no, we want actually have a connection with the outside world. We want to show they are not they are not on an island. They are part of the world. So we said, okay, so we will show the hotel windows, and we'll show the life outside. And this was, again, it came to the cinematic, idea to have the rare projection, to do it with the rare projection, which haven't been done in Polish cinema. So we say, okay, so we can bring something, new as well to that, and this is what when was decided, and it is absolutely, in the story, in the script, in the idea that they are the part of the world, so we have to show it, and the technical way to do it would be that. So this is also something what we learned, and as I said, I learned that that my young director is convincing. He can work with the actors. He can, just hide his nervousness, and that he pretends to be very certain and confident. So, no, I'm joking, of course. No, it was very, very, very good lesson, and also to see that it works. Something what works on paper doesn't always work, on the screen. We have to remember that, the script itself, the written word, is literature. It's not the film yet. It's just the start of the film, but it's not the film. It can change and evolve during the process and things, but of course you have to have it, this base very solid, so you can then fly, to the sky. So that's it. I think this is what I learned.
And
yeah.
just one more technical question regarding this scene. So did you plan to shoot the whole 20 pages, or you've cut it and shortened it before the shoot?
No, we cut it and shortened it before the shoot, also during the rehearsals. I mean, we only had a couple of days of rehearsals, but as I said, we had very fantastic actors, so we were able to figure out very soon what we can live without.
Yeah, a very funny story with the actors, because when Andrzej Wajda saw Anya, he was sure he didn't recognize her. He saw that she's Israeli, and she said, well, she's such a beautiful actress. It's a shame we don't have such young actors in Poland. So it was a very funny story.
But then, of course, he corrected himself, and he said, yeah, but pretty much by the end of the scene, I realized, oh, no, wait, she's Polish. Oh, I'm so happy that we have such talented young actors in Polish cinema now. So, yeah, that was a good one. So before how are we doing with the time? Yeah. We go to the second scene. I just want to say before that, this time we had a little more space, also literally speaking, we had a bigger room. Because we this time had 4 members of the cast, and since we could only brought 2 Israeli actors, we also had 2 Polish actors, and well, again, we had to find a scene that, on one hand, is very much useful to test our own, let's call it, smartphone theory, but on the other hand, we can still only do it with 4 actors when 2 of them are not speaking Hebrew. And also what Eva said earlier, that the Israeli actors were actually too old. We were doing casting in Israel for about a month and a half, so dozens and dozens of young actors, but in very guerrilla situation, because we didn't have any development money for that, so a lot of favors from friends, using offices after hours. It's quite amusing in a way. But we couldn't find the actors in the right age. I mean, and of course also, I mean, okay, for me it's obvious, because in that age, they go to the army. So that was very tricky. So at the end, we chose actors that we knew, okay, they're too old for the part, but at least we can see how it feels in Hebrew. We can test the cinema camera as a smartphone and see how it works.
So for each of these scenes, you had a different goal, right? To check different options. Mm-hmm.
Different options, different goals to check, use the opportunity as much as we can, yeah.
And also, of course, to see how it works with this outside reality that Eva talked about. Because that was a major shift. I mean, it might sound minor in a way, but when I wrote the first draft, it was very clear that this is a closed, small room. I mean, there's only one window and there's a curtain on it, and they're really in their own private space. But realizing that they should have connection, that they're part of the world, was also something we wanted to see in this scene. So
let's see the scene.
מי אמר שהשכלה לא יכולה להיות מהנה? אתה יודע, יש בזה משהו מאוד מתגמל לפתוח למישהו אחר את העיניים. למרות שיש בזה לא מעט סיכון. זהר, אל תזוז. שלא תגיד שאני לא עומד בהבטחות שלי. כמו האחרים. אתה לא צריך להרגיש רע. היית צריך לראות אותי אחרי הפעם הראשונה שראיתי התקפה בזמן אמת של מנאטים. אתה יודע, זה המשהו. כולם מסביבך מתלהבים. אבל אתה יודע שזו צבאה. ואז אתה מתחיל לשאול את עצמך, איך הם למדו להתמודד עם זה? ואז אתה מתחיל להבין. זה לא האיך, זה הלמה. זהו, חייל. שוחרר.
מי משוחרר? מי משוחרר? אתה מצלם וידאו? זה גרוע אתה? למה פה שלו לא חסום? מה קרה למיכל? איך פספסה את זה?
זה מה שקרה למיכל.
מיכלי? מיכלי? נו מה, אתה דפוק? אתה נתת לעשות את זה שוב אחרי אתמול? מיכלי, קומי. אוי. קומי. די, מיכל. צריך לקום, אוקיי? עד כמה? די, מיכל. את יכולה לקום בבקשה? בבקשה? קומי. טוב? טוב? קומי. תביא את הבקבוק. אני לא מאמינה שנתת לעשות את זה עוד פעם.
ילדה גדולה שיודעת מה היא עושה. לפחות ככה היא טוענת.
טוב, טוב, אני לא אוהבת את זוגיות שלכם.
לא?
לא.
חשבתי שאת כן. זה קטע.
וואו, זה בא טוב.
נכון, את לא יועצת הזוגיות שלנו. יועצת הזיווגים שלנו.
אל תתחיל איתי, בני. אני לא מיכל. צריך להיפטר מזה. זאת המחלקה שלך.
מה עם גיל?
ומה האימפוטנט הזה? נרדם 2 שניות אחרי שהוא גמר, כמו תמיד. שרף העולם עכשיו עולה הקום האפס הזה. בסך הכל אתם יצורים די מוגבלים.
אנחנו כאן כדי לשעשע אותך.
נראה לי שדי השתעשעת בעצמך. לא? צלם אותנו מזדיינים יחד עם החבר הקטן שלך פה, כמו איזה 2 סוטים מציצנים. בטח הייתה תוספת נחמדה לחיי המין שלך. לא? להרחיב את הקטלוג. איך אני שמחה שהבנתי בזמן מי אתה ולא עשיתי את הטעות שמיכל עשתה?
איזה טעות.
אתה.
זה קל להגיד כשאף פעם לא הייתה לך את ההזדמנות, נכון? התשפוטה של מיכל, זאת הטעות שלך.
לא, בני. אתה הטעות. תסתכל סביבך, תראה. תראה את הראיות. זה לא מה שאבא שלך תמיד אומר?
אל תערבי בזה את אבא שלי עכשיו.
מה זה? לא אמרת שתחביא את זה?
זה עלה בשיחה.
לא יכולת להתאפק, אה? איזה קשה זה בטח לשלוט בכולם כל הזמן ולא להצליח לשלוט בעצמך.
דווקא נראה שאת די אוהבת ששולטים בך.
כן, בני, אתה באמת רוצה להיכנס לזה?
מזכרת קטנה זה מסורת מאוד מכובדת מעלייה לרגל. את יכולה לשאול גם את אבא של גיל שאת כל כך אוהבת לשבת אצלם בסלון ולראות את המראה.
בורח!
So what did you learn from this one?
You want to start, Eva?
No, it was the question for you, so...
Okay. Well, we said that we need to get younger actors. Also, I mean, we still haven't completely figured out how to make the camera feels like a smartphone. And now we have a couple of strategies that we developed that we're eager to try. And also, we realized that we need this scene, for example, it needs to be slower in a way. There's too many things going on right one after another, and there's not enough space for the characters. So those are, I think, three pretty major realizations. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually, this is the same with Jack. We are a team, so we are learning more or less the same things because we discussed it before. But I think that we can probably move to another part of the development if. Because
I wanted to ask if there are
Okay.
questions from the audience, because we will be wrapping up in around 15 minutes. So if you have questions, please ask them now. Marietta? Sorry, can you work for the mic, please? Yes. Thank you.
Hello, Jack. Now you can answer all the questions. Now, I'm curious about, we know that the traditional way of looking at scripts is 1 page, 1 minute, etc. And this is something that comes up. And for you, when you had the script and when you had the opportunity now to transform it into actual cinema time, and did you learn something about your way of writing and how it plays? Like, for instance, what you said now, that maybe your pacing is different than what you thought, what you saw in your mind, things like this, in reference to the, the transformation of text into cinema.
Actually, but this is maybe already skipping a big part of the process, but we're not going to skip it, we're just going to go back to it. And what we're actually doing now with this last draft that we just finished is trying to break the text in a different way, that it will really correlate with the actual cinema time, that it will really reflect the pacing of the scenes. So it will be more clear for the actors as well, for the crew, and literally that we're all going to be on the same page.
I don't know, just to prove that what we are doing, we've actually cut 20 pages of dialogue. So this is quite a lot. So so we learn, and this is a constant learning. It's a constant work in progress. But the next step was, we were invited to Wrocław, to New Horizons, for the so-called Polish days, when Polish producers and Polish, cinema makers, they present their projects to the international audience. And I had a lot of doubts. I was saying to them, listen, but this is, this project is practically Polish. There is an Israeli director behind. We are going to shoot it in Hebrew. Yes, we are going to shoot it in Poland. And they said, no, it's you are the Polish producer. It's enough.
You qualify.
Yes, I qualified. So this was the first time when we actually exposed ourselves to the open public. And we were really very, very nervous. We didn't know, it's kind of a test if people understand what we are talking about. And of course we had limited time. It was a kind of a public pitch. We were telling about ourselves, about the project, and we sent the teaser only. And it was a huge response. People really, we had for another
But what other materials were there? Because you need also prepare some written materials, right? Some sort of synopsis.
It was the usual one. The synopsis, to be honest, I don't really remember, but something very, very basic, very usual. So, and we had a huge response from people. This is for the next 2 days. We were meeting people from morning till night, practically. This is so because people wanted to talk to us and to know more about the project. So we were, the face-to-face meeting was showing them the scenes, and we were talking, explaining, answering questions, and of course it made us very happy because it means that people understood what we wanted to tell them, and they liked the way we were telling our story. So it was really brought, for me, and I'm sure for Jack as well, the additional confidence that what we want to do is right. We are on the right track. So we were very, very happy about it. And of course, you know, a lot of people wanted us to send them the script, and you know, we continue talking to some of them, you know, till now. They are our, you know, potential partners. Of course, we just, you know, make this. It's not some. We just make our choices. We talk to, you know, a certain number of people, and then was Torino. Then was Torino, which was. I mean, it was really very, very good. You know, I'm you know, familiar with Torino from years back, when I first met Marietta, you know, with the project with Marta Parlatore, and so this was I know what is it about, and I was very lucky also to be in a jury of Torino, so I know this system from both sides, and so I was very, very happy, and we were also very happy to work with the same, with France on the script development.
Can you tell us a bit more, because there are many Torino workshops, so to which of the workshops you did go, and what was the
since we were already in a more advanced stage of the project, in the sense of development, we applied for framework, which is the program for projects that are very close to production, and I mean, it touches a lot of subjects. Script consultancy is still a major part of it, but we also discussed sound, cinematography, casting, with various
post-production, even post-production, yeah.
Very much. So, actually, the first session was about a week in Croatia, on this small village on a mountain, at about 42 degrees. So it wasn't mind-storming; it was more mind-boiling. But still, we got a lot of good insights and interesting comments and reactions that we could work with, which brought us to the second session, which actually took place in Torino this last November. And this session is also, the international pitching.
It ends with international pitching, you know. So
which you've won, as I remember.
Which we won, and we were kind of double winners, because we got a production award from the jury, but we also, what I was personally very, very happy about, we also won the audience award. You know, it was again the proof that the audience understood and liked. So that made me really, really very, very happy. But you know, this is something what there was a question for Marietta about the producer being a part of the sessions. You know, I could not come for the first session with Jack, but I was, you know, with this on the second session with him. But it was, I think, as I said, you know, for me, because this is, I think I can say that we practically never talked about the script in details. Yes.
Not page by page.
Not page by page. But this is really something. I made comments on people comments. I said, okay, I agree with that. I disagree with that because of this and that. We were talking, and we are absolutely in agreement in a general idea, the way we want to tell, what we want to tell. You know, I think it's a very, very close, you know, very kind of even homogeneous understanding of the story, of the script, of the idea. But we really never talked page by page. I think it's still in front of us, but this is what I said. I understand scripts with, you know, emotions and with intuition. So that's why I don't feel I should really talk to the director. You know, my task was here to connect him with the proper people who can really, he can really use, and who can really, you know, really happen to help us to develop the script to the right way. I hope one day I will be, you know, I can, you know, I'll be clever enough to to really go page by page and word by word, you know. So this is, yeah.
I think there are different ways leading to Rome, you know, so.
No, of course, no. But for my, you know, personal curiosity and ability, I'd really like to be. But anyway, I think that now the time came probably that we will talk, you know, page by page and dialogue by dialogue. You know, this is now we are in the moment that I think I can really, you know, give some proper input. Learning myself through the whole process, of course, because I think this is learning and developing not only for the writer-director, but also for the producer. So,
do we have questions from the audience?
The title, can you say something about the title? Or is it just a way to be the first in the catalog?
no, the title has a meaning.
Actually, being first in the alphabet, that's an added benefit. But I'm very happy that you asked this question. Because AA, it's a literal translation from Hebrew, means Aleph Aleph. Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. But Aleph Aleph, it's also an expression, sort of an old school expression, that means, let's say, top of the class or best of the class. And since we are dealing here with a class, a high school class, it seems very befitting. But another thing, that this is also not just a story about a class, this is a story about classes. In the sense of, there is this struggle between the elite group and the outcast. But of course, for me, it's also, it's a way to address this extreme polarity that we see in society now, where we almost have no in-between. And this is very much the social context that the film is working with or in.
Any more questions?
Oh, of course, there's also this thing when people hear AA, they automatically think about Alcoholic Anonymous.
Yes.
And then I have to tell them that, yeah, probably this is how those characters will end up a few years after that tour. So it also makes sense.
Yes, I wanted to ask more about your work with Franz and on the script. I know that you've worked a lot. And how did he influence the script itself? How did he influence your work and how your collaboration looked like?
Was it only in workshop sessions or also outside of workshops?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my collaboration with Franz originated in the Netherlands Film Academy, where he was a guest lecturer and sort of artist in residency. They have this residency plan there, and we were very lucky to have him. So, as Eva mentioned, he was actually there from the first draft. And after that, we just had to find clever, creative ways to keep on working, because he's one of the top story editors working in Europe. So definitely we cannot afford hiring his services when we had no development money whatsoever attached. So we had Script Station, and then we had Torino. And there's also a program that he does that called Script Circle, which is also very good. We also did that. It's also a group work where you have about 4 projects, 8 participants. And it's very intense. And the thing with Franz that he's very much into, let's say, the author's intention. I mean, he's amazing. He's so sharp when it comes to construction and to script structure, but it's not the main concern. He always look at that through the aspect of what is the core of the project, what is the intention of the author, and what I try to achieve as a filmmaker. And actually,
this is not only what and why, not what and how, but also why. Yes.
Yeah, and he's still very supportive. I mean, every time there's major doubt that's rising, and
Yeah, we can get in touch. We recently had a Skype session with him on the latest draft because we wanted him to give some comments or at least to tell us, okay, you did right. Yes, this is so we asked him for this Skype session, and we did, the three of us. So yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, I know, you can be a little bit doubtful after cutting 20-some pages of dialogue from your script that you've been working on for several years. So yeah, it helps.
Okay, one last question there.
Hello. I wanted to ask what drafts are you in right now? How many drafts did you had so far? And how did you deal with this development money issue? Like, did you get any more development funding that the Israeli one that you mentioned in the beginning?
Basically, how did you finance the whole process if you only had one grant?
What is the number of the draft that you have now?
Actually, this number thing doesn't make much sense for me because it's enough for me to change 2 words and then it's a new draft. So this whole mathematic equation doesn't really apply. I think we can more evaluate it in the sense of really sort of workshops we had, because those were the major changes. Well, about the development, since you can only get it once from Israel, we just had to be very resourceful, self-resourceful.
Yeah, this is really, we're trying to, the idea was, okay, to do as much as possible without money. And of course, where you have to pay, we have an Israeli producer attached to the project as well. So we shared between the two of us. Okay, this is, you pay for that, I pay for that. Like for flights, for participation in Torino, practically the Ekran we didn't pay. I paid a little bit more money because I agreed with Ekran that I would like to give Jack more.
Ekran, as far as I know, is generally free of charge.
Yes, it's free of charge. It was very important for us to be there, because you can do so much, so many things, especially, for me, I was kind of focused on shooting those scenes, and it was free of charge. But of course, to be able to give Jack a little bit more than usual. So I agreed with Ekran that I will pay a little bit of money, additionally on top of free participation. And so we were trying to minimize cost, as much as possible. The ways to find, how to develop it in most possible way with the least possible money. Yeah. But of course, there is always, the producer has to be prepared for spending some money. This is really, unfortunately, within, nowadays with this word it's almost impossible to do something really for free of charge. Unless people agree, okay, we will write or we'll work, we'll shoot for free because we love you, whatever reason. But generally you have to be prepared to spend some money. But the cost of this really, really deep development, I think we can be kind of an example of well-developed project, is, it's just peanuts, really.
Okay, we need to wrap up, so I made some very, very short notes to kind of take a lesson from you guys and from the example of your film. So when picking a project, gut feeling is good, but also kind of sending out the message that you are looking for a particular sort of story. Development is not only for the writer, but also for the producer. And through this process, you can not only develop the story, but also the visual style, and casting is also a part of development thing. And last but not least, you have to be resourceful about your financing. And if you don't have, I don't know, a suitcase full of dollars, you can always go to Creative Europe financed workshops like Ekran Plus or Torino or other projects, other workshops that allow the project to be developed without a substantial financial input from the producer. And last but not least, working page by page is not necessarily a thing. It's more about being on the same page and knowing where the story is going. And this page by page thing comes a bit later in the process.
At least in our case, and I hope you know that Jack didn't suffer, that his producer was not with him page by page all the time. So
I think that probably you haven't mentioned it, although I really like all these bullet points. If you can send it to me afterwards. And I think that the most important thing that we developed here is trust. That we learned that we can really trust on each other, even when we don't have funding, even when we don't have. You know, this, I don't know how to call it, this usual narrative of development, that we can develop our own development and count on each other through that, so yeah.
Great. We keep fingers for you. I definitely keep fingers for your project. Thank you for your time. And now Małgosia Kielkiewicz, Head of Creative Europe Media Desk Poland. Our host.
Before I invite everyone for lunch, I would like to thank our guests, our experts. So Marietta, Eva and Jack, thank you very much for being with us, for taking part in this short seminar, for sharing your knowledge and expertise. I would like also address my special thanks to our great moderator, Joanna Szymańska.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And also to Julia Płachecka. Please stand up. Marta Pawlak at the very end of the room. Weronika Rosa, who is not here with us today. And of course, Aleksandra Leszczyńska, who was involved in this project from the very beginning. Ale przede wszystkim chciałabym bardzo podziękować Państwu za udział w dzisiejszym wydarzeniu, za to, że zdecydowaliście się poświęcić połowę dzisiejszego pięknego wiosennego dnia, żeby spędzić ten czas z nami. Zapraszam do oceny dzisiejszego wydarzenia poprzez ankietę ewaluacyjną, którą znajdą Państwo pośród materiałów promocyjno-informacyjnych w plecakach. Zapraszam jak zawsze do śledzenia naszego profilu na Facebooku, zapisania się na nasz newsletter, w którym informujemy o wszystkich naszych wydarzeniach, ale również o wydarzeniach, które są współfinansowane przez program Kreatywna Europa. I zapraszam do udziału w kolejnych naszych wydarzeniach. Dziękuję bardzo.
I ja jeszcze, jeżeli mogę, prosić o oklaski dla naszych tłumaczy, którzy bardzo się ze mną stawili.
Dziękuję.
Bardzo dziękujemy. Ewa Puszczyńska, Jack Faber, Marietta. Thank you.